Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpros.com.
Good evening and welcome to Leadership Live at 8:05. Once again, I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and definitely excited about being here once again, talking small business. As you know, that's one of my favorite topics, and thanks for tuning in. As always, each week we have a great guest, and we just have a good conversation about things that entrepreneurs and small business owners need to know. Whether you're in business now or you're a future business owner, even if you're working for someone else, in every space of life, you have to be more entrepreneurial. So, lessons and expertise and perspective gained from this can be helpful in any area of your life. As you know, we always appreciate any comments that you have. Feel free to put them in the chat. Any questions you have, we'll be glad to answer them. The guests will be glad to answer them as well. This is a huge week for me. I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. Many of you know I do the Power Breakfast event a couple times a year, and that's a pretty major event for entrepreneurs and business owners. So we're having that on Friday. So if you're in New Jersey, you should check us out. Thursday night, before the Power Breakfast, we have a great networking event so that people can connect and build momentum before the event. Or if you can't make it to the event, you may want to make it to the networking. So I'm just going to take a second, for those of you who don't know, just show you a couple quick videos about, what the Power Breakfast is and about the networking reception, if that's okay. So here we go. Networking starting. Join us for the Power Network event at the Enterprise Center in Newark, New Jersey on March 21st. Meet with like-minded entrepreneurs in a relaxed environment to chat, connect, and collaborate.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Dunn, Senior Vice President of Newark Enterprise Center, and I'm looking forward to meeting you.
I'm Andrew Frazier. Please join me at our Power Network event, and I look forward to introducing you to our members. To learn more and register, visit www.sbpros.com/power-network. That's www.sbpros.com/power-network today. Are you an entrepreneur or business owner? If so, you need to check out the Power Breakfast. The Power Breakfast is New Jersey's premier business networking event for entrepreneurs. The Power Breakfast is a unique forum for learning best practices, enjoying great networking, and gaining useful knowledge. Over the past 10 years, we have hosted more than 1,500 attendees who have directly benefited with revenue growth and financing. Join me at the next Power Breakfast event on March 22nd in the clubhouse at Galloping Hill Golf Course in Kenilworth, New Jersey. You don't want to miss our featured guest speaker, Jimmy Newsom, the impact influencer, He will be talking about how digital transformation can increase profitability for small businesses.
So I'm Jimmy Newsom, known as the Impact Influencer, influencing other small business owners to get the things done that matter the most to them, working on strategy, looking at the big picture, because that's where we find our true north to move forward. So I'm the founder of Moving Forward Small Business. We're on a mission to save 1 million businesses from failure, leveraging innovation, technology, and where this AI strategy actually falls underneath as one of the strategies you could be focusing on for let's just say 2024.
You'll also want to check out our expert panel, Maximize Your Success with Partnerships. I look forward to seeing you at the Power Breakfast on March 22nd. To learn more and register, visit www.the-power-breakfast.com today. Okay, good evening. Welcome back. Excited tonight to have a guest, Lou Carpino, and our topic is really going to be a great topic. We're going to talk about accelerating growth by launching new products and services. We've done this show for 3.5 years on a weekly basis, and we always say that sales and marketing is your most important job, but we've never had a show specifically on product launches. So I'm excited to be able to do that because definitely, when you're in business or just to come in business, launching your product is key, and especially if you're going to scale. So our guest today, Lou, is going to share some of his insights. He's launched quite a few products for others and for his businesses, and there's some things that you can learn through the process. I look forward to learning as well. So let me invite Lou on right now. Hey, Lou, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
Excellent. So, we had a chance to chat a little bit, and definitely shared some of the great things that you're working on now, as well as some of the things that you've worked on before. But it would be good to take a few minutes just to chat a little bit about your story, kind of walk people through sort of how you got to where you are and then where you are now.
Of course. My journey is a unique one. I'm a born and bred native New Yorker. So I guess that kind of maybe gave me a leg up that I didn't realize I had simply by growing up here. I'm a city boy, plain and simple. Accidentally got into the business that I currently am in. Went to St. John's University for business and communications after switching my major twice. The funny story is I was originally accepted to become an engineer, but I got kind of tired of math. So I switched to journalism, and I got tired of writing and fell in love with communications and advertising. And lo and behold, what do you do as an entrepreneur in advertising? You write and you crunch numbers. Fast forward, I somehow got into banking very early on, didn't like it at all. And the agency that I interned at was gracious enough to put me forward, really at the convergence and evolution of a lot of the media that we use and consume today, when digital transformation hadn't really been created. MySpace was still a thing. Yahoo, Google, Gmail, all of those were still pretty new. And that's how I got my feet wet. Fast forward, corporate life was never really for me. And while I was working for Clear Channel, which is now iHeart, I had the appetite to acquire. There was something called deregulation going on. And I had an opportunity to buy a bunch of radio stations. So put together a group, raised $34 million, submitted a bid. They're like, who is this, crazy 23-year-old kid trying to do this? Had to sign off on a bunch of paperwork. Um, Ultimately, we lost the bid, uh, but they came back to us. It was because of a larger deal, and offered us a discount on the stations, but the money was gone at that point. They had taken too long. And then just, modeling agency, production company, was experimenting with TV. Um, loved the music industry, natural progression, especially being, media and radio. And lo and behold, I started a little company with some friends from high school called Cab Corner. And we're the second e-hail ride sharing application on the iPhone before Uber. And yes, before Uber, people thought we were crazy. Clearly, we weren't. But we were too young, too inexperienced. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I knew I needed to learn a lot more. So had the opportunity to work alongside a brilliant CTO, Simon Whittington, who was one of the founders of a British company called Endava, and they asked me to help them lead their North American go-to-market strategy and help them IPO, which I did. And fast forward, it was another intrapreneur or entrepreneur opportunity after another from IDT and their digital advertising ecosystem that they asked me to create, Bloomberg podcasting, and a bunch of other companies in between. A few of them are still in existence and operating, generating revenue today. Yeah, and then today I'm working on my latest and greatest and biggest endeavor, which is Pom Pom Ferry, and mission-driven, purpose-focused, designed to protect consumers and delight and completely change the ecosystem from a cashback, rewards, and loyalty perspective, which we're currently doing and having fun doing with.
Excellent. So, you've got an amazing journey, and you're still really young, which is great.
I'll take it. I'm not going to say my age, but I will happily take it. And that's just the high level. There's way more to unpack, but that gives a little bit of perspective. Certainly stumbled along the way, and take everything with joy, gratitude, grace, and you could learn something from everything.
Definitely, and definitely that diverse background. Early on, moving around in different jobs probably didn't seem like a good thing, but now it really gave you some perspective that very few people have, and allows you to really do some exciting things.
Absolutely. And I never thought of myself, honestly, until fairly recently as being an underrepresented or diverse founder, especially growing up here. And it's I need to inspire, I need to embrace, and it's something I've learned, and I'm glad I learned it. A couple of people pointed it out, and it's awesome. It is
Right.
awesome to have, this complexion.
Okay. Yes. Sometimes it's not, but many times it is, and you work with what you got, and there's advantages to everything. So definitely. So you were Uber before Uber. Tell me a little bit more about that.
That I guess the bane of my existence to an extent. People still call me up and say, Lou, how you doing? And you must have made a boatload. Did you get out of Uber yet? I'm like, no, it wasn't me. That wasn't our name. I've sat on stage with Travis, their founder and former CEO, who's no longer there. It was wild. It was a new era. We were ostracized and told there's no way, nobody's ever going to do or want to A, share a ride, B, use their phone to book a ride. C, there aren't enough people who would ever buy an iPhone to do it. Fast forward, we had the TLC commissioner, Matt Dowse, on our board. And, we peaked at a pretty significant number and had quite a few supporters, and, we're doing deals, but too young, too inexperienced, and quite frankly, too many dudes. I mean, it was honestly, there was a serious lack of balance and too many egos, going on, and not enough communication. But we didn't know it then. I mean, we had been successful early on in our careers, and certainly had quite a bit of confidence. But we made every possible rookie mistake you can possibly make.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. It's not easy, and things start moving fast, and you got to make decisions. That's one of the reasons why it's good to bring someone like me on who has a little more gray hair and who's seen a lot of things. But one thing I find in business is, I probably learn at least 10 times as much every year than I learned when I was working for someone else. And developing your skills. What are some of the key things that you've learned that have helped you be most successful?
Stop, look, and listen. And that's something that I was taught very early on, to really listen and absorb and analyze and think right here, and engage with whoever it is on the opposite side you're talking to, because not enough people actually do that. Where we tend to get so thrown into, got to finish this, got to get out these emails, got to make 100 phone calls, got to do the dials, and you don't. You have to stop and make sure that the person or people or team you're actually engaging with knows that you care, and not enough people do. And I care about everything I do, and relationships are everything, even with all the technology we have today. That's what it boils down to. And your word is your bond, credibility is everything, and that's my entire career. I could call somebody, and I did last week, up, that I haven't spoken to in 13 years, and thrilled to hear my voice, remembers everything. I didn't think he would remember, but those relationships last a lifetime, and that's how we build everything on integrity and trust. And if you've delivered even at an early age and had a good relationship, it carries over, and you'll have support anywhere you go, whether it's as an entrepreneur or any corporate.
Okay. No, that's so valuable. I mean, relationships are so important. You mentioned, long term. I've actually been married 31 years now.
You don't look that old. You do not look that old.
Well, so
that's awesome. We should be talking about that. How did you maintain and manage that journey?
Yeah, but building relationships is key. I've got people from my past that come back and into my future. One gentleman I knew 20 years ago. I bought a product from him when he was selling 20 years ago. Now he sponsors my event.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing. And just you're going to run into people over and over and over again. So they're going to remember who you are and what you're about. So
absolutely,
100% integrity is key. So now let's get back to the topic. I know I sort of strayed a little bit away.
All good.
But really launching products, that's something important for a business owner, because you only get one launch, And it's important to do it the right way. But before we talk about launching a product, you need to have a product. What makes a good product? What makes a good product in your idea? Because you need to have a good product before you try and launch.
Well, the product, you've got to be solving a problem, right? And something there's a reason why you're creating a product, particularly either way, um, because you felt and you validated everything, and your thesis has been reaffirmed, and you've been reassured. So you're excited and enthusiastic about building whatever the product it is, because you have support, because it solves a problem that is significant. It could be small, but small, if you look at it from a macro perspective, really isn't that small. It could be a $100 million ecosystem, or total addressable market, or in our case, a $17 trillion ecosystem, but it solves a problem. Or and also it could be, doesn't necessarily solve a problem, but it could also be an improvement or innovation on on an ecosystem, or the way another product or series of products have been doing something that doesn't work anymore. We've got different technology. We evolve, we grow, and the old adage, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it is broken, you should fix it and make it better, for future generations. So, yeah, bottom line, your product needs to solve something that's relevant to a particular group of people, right? The captive audience, or at a larger scale. You've got to solve something. And if it's relevant, then tap into it.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to make you go a little bit further into that, because, we've got a lot of small entrepreneurs. You've done a lot of things. You're used to this. But, one thing I find is a lot of people don't really do the work to get where they need to be before they launch. But they may not also know what that work is. You talked about reaffirmed. What is that? How do you do that? What do you really need to do to make sure that your launch is going to be successful, or at least you're prepared to be able to make it successful?
You gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? If you're building a product, and this is it for any entrepreneur out there, and this is my baby. This is, I can see the market. I can see the future. You have to talk to people about it. You can't keep it hidden, um, you know, behind your back or in your bag. You've got to be vocal. You've got to be out there and testing what people think without giving too much away. Um, and that validates the thesis, right? This comes down to market research, and really knowing who your audience is, and who you need to talk to. And you're at the same time, you're also addressing and figuring out, um, who your customers are, at the same time, who your supporters are. And that product is the backbone of a business. And how do you run that business? You need a team. Eventually, you can't do it all yourself, so you need help, which is why you're talking to other people that you trust or don't know, or you're in a networking group, or you're in a startup ecosystem, whatever it might be. Um, you got to get out there and really test out the idea and get it validated. This way, when you're talking to investors or you're talking to prospects, you validated it. You know it works, and you just set it up and do a little partnership deal and prove it out. And that's how you grow.
Okay. No, great points. You don't want to go out there without testing it out and really knowing there's a market, and knowing your solution works and people are willing to pay for it. A lot of people go out with something they think is great, but the market doesn't accept it for one reason or another. So
Well, and you know what? When a lot of entrepreneurs raise money or take their product to market, they don't know, right? They have a thesis, and they don't necessarily have the technology built or the audience or sample size to really validate it yet. But the investors or people you've spoken with your thesis about think it's a valid point to test. You've got to test it, and you know what? If it's wrong, maybe you have to make a tweak or two. And that's all part of innovation. You gotta take a step out. You got to take a leap of faith uh, in order uh, in order to progress to something greater.
okay, yeah, definitely, and you know, you're probably going to be wrong early on. It's going to
Oh,
need some tweaks. It's going to need some change.
absolutely will make mistakes. Getting things wrong is the only pathway to getting something right. You have to make mistakes.
Definitely.
If you look at the automobile industry or aviation, they got a lot wrong, right? And it's costly from a human capital perspective. A lot of people died, and in this case, depending on what industry or business an individual or entrepreneur is in, you know, there's a big cost to getting things wrong, but through getting it wrong, you correct, adapt, improve to get it right because you have a vision. And that vision and that end goal is better than what currently is or was.
hmm So definitely, but it's good to know that because you don't want to spend all your money on the first try. A lot of times people do that. This is going to be great, and I'm sure you're familiar with lean startup.
Absolutely.
You know when you're launching something, do how do you take into account how much to invest in actually launching for the first time?
That is a very good question. And sometimes you don't. It's just a gamble. You kind of have to take into consideration. Sorry, Ramsdale is probably hears something outside. He'll quiet down in a quick second. But you have to take a gamble. You have to, look at the comps, right? If you're buying real estate in a particular market, you're going to look at the comps on what they've raised. You'll know you have to have a feeling for what's at hand and what it will take, and set certain benchmarks and KPIs. You have to budget. You have to scope. And in planning any, especially when it comes to technology, when you're planning out what to build, whether it exists or not currently, what is it going to cost? What is an engineer? What do 3 developers and senior engineers cost? Whether it's landed in the U.S. or they're outsourced to Eastern Europe or India. What's the cost benefit analysis to that? You have to do your diligence and get estimates. If you don't have the internal team or you don't have that experience to build it yourself, you need to do your diligence. That's the only way. And your investors are going to expect you to either have the experience, and if it's something new, that you've done your diligence in comparing what the comps actually are and estimates are to build. And those key indicators and those benchmarks and the KPIs and the cadence that you're set throughout and in budgeting and timeline, those are critical, and you've got to know it. Otherwise you're flying by the seat of your pants, and that's not going to work.
Well, unfortunately, most businesses are out there winging it because they don't really plan or have KPIs. But I'm always a proponent of written business plans and KPI. Can you talk a little bit about what does it mean to plan, and what are KPIs and how do you figure them out?
Key performance indicators. It's something I learned very early on in the realm of media. sales and performance and tracking of advertising campaigns and the effectiveness of what the efforts and thesis of what these marketers and big brands were doing. And it's easily translatable to every business. What are your margins? What is the cost of doing business? How much does it cost you to generate a sale if it is, marketing or advertising driven? What's your overhead? What's your burn rate? How long can you last? What is your runway? There are so many nuanced things that, quite honestly, to me, are common sense that I don't necessarily consider anymore, something to bring up. But it's especially for earlier entrepreneurs or SMBs. It's something for them to consider, and it's critical. Throwing, there's the whole funnel ecosystem, and there are models that you could follow that generate, 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x returns on whatever the investment is, especially as it comes to when it comes to e-commerce, and driving traffic into a retail location or to a website. They're easy formulas, and you need to know them. And what are they? What does that equal for you, and how can you apply it to what you are building, and who your customer base actually is?
Okay. So actually, your background in marketing early on probably really helped in terms of analysis, because in this day and age, you can't really market effectively without numbers and analysis.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it did. And it was all new. You've got, the Arbitrons and the Nielsen's of the world. Don't get me started on their methodologies, but, you've got a currency. You've got a baseline currency to look at that is considered an industry standard, no matter what business you're in or operating. And you need to understand what the current marketplace looks like, what the trends are, what your marketplace looks like, and what the actual potential is, and what the competition is. It doesn't make sense, right? You've got to if you're flying someplace, you've got to chart your course and know the direction you're going to go. If you're sailing a boat, you've got to look at the maps, and really make sure you're not sailing into danger. And any entrepreneur needs to do that type of research and look at the numbers, and it's there. Everything you can possibly imagine is there for you these days, not like it was before.
Right. Now, there's so much information out there. The difficult part is, actually, my first book's Running Your Small Business Like a Pro. Mm-hmm. And I, work with over 1,000 business owners now one-on-one. And, you see patterns. And one of the things I saw put in chapter 3 was, what is your greatest fear? Mm-hmm. And the thing that entrepreneurs and business owners many times fear the most is numbers. Numbers and analysis, which is the key to understand how your business works and how to move it forward. So definitely that's a message that needs to get out.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you're not a numbers person, find somebody smarter than you that can help.
Yeah. Well, but also, as long as you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide with a calculator.
Yes.
All the
basics. One needs to be able to work the basics and create a hypothesis and just see scale and scope. I mean, for myself personally now, especially these days, and what my career has provided is, I've got ideas in terms of how to extrapolate and look at different marketplace, but you've got quants which are in high demand, and you need them. Especially when you're looking at billions or trillions of dollars in transactions and how they're working together or not. You've got to look at those numbers, and you've got to have the ability, or have somebody who has the ability to throw them into a program and extrapolate and create that story. And what is that story? What that data scientist may or may not have the direction or experience that the entrepreneur has, from a thesis perspective, but if you direct them, they can help. And together you're stronger. So you have to work together to analyze and look and see the story within the numbers, because the numbers don't lie if they're honest numbers, right? Transparency is everything. And that is a big problem across a bunch of industries, the lack of. But you can find the story, and if it's beneficial for a partner or an industry or somebody else, your product, and it speaks to your product, you've got something. Now, how do you make it bigger, better? How do you sell it? How do you articulate that value proposition?
Okay. So now, one of the things I, talk about and, work with clients on and teach is, this, world and business world is getting more and more complex, and things are changing all the time, but change always creates opportunity.
Absolutely.
And the key is you got to be proactive, creative, and flexible. And one way to look at new revenue opportunities is sort of the intersection between trends, between your business strengths and your personal strengths. Is that something that you see in what you've been doing, or how can people figure out what are some ways to go, what are some new products, and how might we want to launch them?
Yes, is the short answer to that. But digging into it a bit deeper, it comes with experience. Having that insight to spot the trends and the opportunity does take experience. It takes expertise. It takes an understanding of maybe not one, maybe not two, maybe three or four different businesses, and figuring out a way to fill the gap or solve the problem that just became apparent, right? That aha moment is incredible, or it's a life experience that triggered one to start thinking about a problem because the experience was so painful or brutal. Like that's how a lot of great ideas happen. Like it's through personal experience, and negative experience or trauma. And through that trauma, you evolve and you start to think of other ways never to go through that again, or never to allow anybody else to go through that. And then you start asking questions. And those questions are, how many people actually have to deal with this? How big is this problem? And that's when things get interesting, right? Has anybody solved it? Nobody solved it. Is there a patent? What's the IP? How can we take this to market? Those aha moments are the sparks that very few people actually follow through on, I think, in my humble opinion. But that's following through and asking the questions. That's the big differentiator between just somebody who has an idea and a solution and an entrepreneur. And then getting passionate enough or confident enough to take that risk and putting yourself out there to solve it, that you have a solution for whatever that problem was.
Okay. No, great. Definitely covered some key things there. And, when you're, really getting started, one of the things for a lot of product launches is building momentum, building momentum around the launch. And what are some ideas or some ways that people can do that and that you've done it before?
Exclusivity. I mean, it's go back to the old Gilt Group model. An old friend of mine, Jason John, was the chief marketing officer at Gilt Group at the inception. If the audience knows who they are, even if they're still a thing, They were one of the first, if not the first, way back, I guess, mid early 2000s, to have, I guess a secondhand or off season marketplace for luxury items, and it was an invite only. It was invite only and exclusive, and not really like that great of a deal or value, in all honesty, but they built up that demand, right? That fever and the exclusivity to get in to learn more. Hey, register your email. When we have enough room, we may let you in. And having that friend of a friend, but getting people to talk about your product publicly, whether it's Reddit, any of the websites that talk about something that's relevant, or those chat rooms. Go back. What's old is new again. It works. If you really dig into the product launch strategies, and the gurus, they will tell you to plant those seeds within communities that care about, or may care about, the product it is you're launching, and start talking about it. There's a myriad of ways to really build that excitement, from PR to advertising and old school marketing and pay per click, right? Google's around, and Facebook and Instagram are around for a reason, because it works. The data that they have, based on who, what, when, where you're trying to reach, works. And we could get even deeper into that, but there's a reason why we see the ads that are served. If you look at something online, you get an ad served on your phone. It's all marketing, right? It at the end of the day, the way the tech is running, fortunately and unfortunately. But yeah, you've got to catch fire, right? You've got to be relevant, and you've got to be able to you've got to be able to tell the story that is relevant, so that you can catch fire. Talk to journalists, hire a PR person, get those articles, talk about it. You can't be quiet. You've got to shout it from the top of the roof and say, "Hey, I've just, invented the wheel. You guys, let's start using it." Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a great point. Of course, you got to get help, and you got to get expertise, especially, marketing's so important.
Absolutely.
But one of the challenges is, I don't know about you, but I'd say probably half of the people or organizations that offer marketing services aren't really that good, or don't really understand how to work with all types of businesses.
Agreed.
And how do you figure that out? How do you deal with it? What should your role as the owner be in terms of marketing your business?
Trial and error, really, especially if it's not your area of expertise, and it goes back to diligence. It goes back to, you're not going to talk to one marketing agency or a marketing pro or advertising shop and make a decision off the bat. That would just be silly. You've got to interview them. You've got to see if the energy and vibration aligns, if they get excited or passionate about your product. It's not about the dollars. It's about an exchange and a dynamic that will enable an appreciation for what you're building. Yeah, there's shops. You could go to big agencies that won't even talk to you unless you're spending $1 million. But how does that work for the small business owners, the entrepreneurs? It doesn't. And especially with Chat GPT and the information that is just out there today, there's no logical reason why an entrepreneur cannot properly market their product, right? You may want to keep it quiet, depending, but everything is there. All the information is at your fingertips, and do your diligence. And when you do that, compare. Some, not all are created equal, and you will make mistakes, but interview, find out, see if it works. There's still a lot of trial and error that goes on with marketing and getting your product out there. Not everything works. What's tried and true stops working one day, all of a sudden, and you have to do something new. But there's only one way to find out.
Okay. And actually that's a great point. I mean, right now, last year everybody was like, you got to go to LinkedIn. Everything's there. But now LinkedIn's changed things around, so you're not getting the same visibility and access that you used to get. You're getting like half.
Thank you, Microsoft. And playing with the algorithms, right? Yeah.
So, it's important to also be flexible and, like you said, understand that, marketing channels, the way you market, all that has to be evolve, continually evolve. And, not just that, it's got to evolve, but, the way, what would I say? You got to change.
It's constantly changing, right?
Yeah.
And you have to adapt to the new algorithms, the new technologies, the new players that are arbitraging and taking advantage of particular algorithms, because when it happens, you don't know until it's too late. And then you have to change, and it costs, right? Especially if your business is modeled on, that supply and demand and those algorithms to generate leads and traffic.
Right.
They change overnight. I can tell you stories, but they absolutely change overnight. And, every major tech company out there is constantly tweaking them and playing with them for their own advantage or to benefit others, right? That's up for debate, but.
Yeah. And, but one of the things we talked about before is, KPIs. If you're not measuring, like you'll see that immediately. If you're used to getting, one lead out of every 50 ads you run, and then you start getting one lead out of every 500, then that's going to really hurt your business. But
massively,
you might not notice that.
Right. And it depends on, and if you're not paying close attention and keeping pace with the cadence and those KPIs, then you could find yourself in a hole very quickly.
Yeah. So I want to go back.
Sure.
One of the things you talked about was experience was really important to figuring out good products. And, thinking back on it now, I've been doing business and other stuff for like 30 years.
Right. But it's a wealth of experience.
Yeah, but for my clients, they'll be like, should I do this? I'm like, do this. Because, you've seen stuff and you're just like, this is, when you see something that's different and special, you can tell quickly if you've got experience and seen it. But what happens also is, you've probably heard that, most people are most successful on your third business. So, it's important to fail a couple of times so you can get that experience you need. Just don't lose too much money in those.
Agreed. I mean, my first few, timing, could have been good, but they didn't work. We were too early, too inexperienced, didn't see the writing on the wall that we should have. Like, we're at risk, but that's how you learn to improve, so you don't make those mistakes again. In playing baseball, you've got to strike out in order to hit the ball and know where and how, and to read the pitcher. And, I tell my son all the time, who really gets upset when he loses or a goal goes by him while he's playing, the ball goes by him while he's playing soccer. Like, well, that's how you get better. And you develop your reflexes. You train the brain to see the signs and react and adapt. And it's only through failure one creates success. You could get lucky.
Yeah.
Plenty of people do, but you have to get things wrong, and I get things wrong all the time, and I love learning, and it's a good thing, and take it with gratitude and joy, because there's a reason for everything, and if it didn't work, how do you make it work, and what can you learn from it? Don't be upset. Yeah, money's money. There's plenty of it out there. Figure out how to tap into it and what you did wrong, so you can improve on whatever model it is you're working on.
Okay, definitely so.
Yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense. One difficult part about this show is it's only an hour. Like time flies when you're having fun.
Are we already up? Have we been? Yeah, we're approaching it, aren't we?
We're approaching it. And we could probably talk for hours and hours, if not days, about this stuff, because you just learn so much, and there's so much to being a successful entrepreneur and going through the process. You take away a lot of valuable things. So
you gotta go through the pain and suffering. It ain't easy. It is not easy. It takes a stomach. It takes a really trusting and wonderful partner as well to deal with it time and time again.
Yeah, very important.
Yes. So, but balance is key, right? And between, whether it's your partner, that masculine and feminine energy, that energy exchange, and being aware of giving versus receiving, and keeping that balanced is critical to success. And it took me a long time to figure that out, in all honesty. And, the sooner you understand where you're being drained from with what it is you're trying to build, and when to ask for help, the better. And actually, the hardest thing throughout my entire career has really, like, asking for help, right? And just like knowing when you need help. And still to this day, it's a challenge. I've gotten better, but delegating and getting that support you need as an entrepreneur, the sooner you figure that out and can deal with it and are aware of it, the more successful you'll be, for sure.
Very true. Very true. Definitely I hired a full-time virtual assistant this year. It's amazing. I
have yet to do that, but I have like 10 people who are like, just hire these. Like, you need a PA, you need an EA, virtual assistant. I still haven't done that yet. Have not done that yet. But
if you get the right one,
you got to tell me. I'll take your recommendation.
We'll talk about that afterwards. So hang out for a little bit after. But what I want to do is, before we close things out, I always like to ask the guests to really share 3 key things that we should take away from what we talked about today, and that we could utilize in our business tomorrow to make it more successful. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about learning and implementing. And, what should we take away? Because we talked about a lot of stuff.
We did.
Nobody can remember everything, but if they could take 3 things away to focus on, that would be great. So I'll give you a minute to think about them, and I'm going to show a couple commercials about the Power Breakfast we're having on this Friday, and we're having a networking event Thursday evening. So networking is in Newark, and the Power Breakfast is in Kenilworth, New Jersey, if you're interested. Here we go.
I spent a lot of time.
Join us for the Power Network event at the Enterprise Center in Newark, New Jersey on March 21st. Meet with like-minded entrepreneurs in a relaxed environment to chat, connect, and collaborate.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Dunn, Senior Vice President of Newark Enterprise Center, and I'm looking forward to meeting you.
I'm Andrew Frazier. Please join me at our Power Network event, and I look forward to introducing you to our members. To learn more and register, visit www.sbprou.com/power-network. That's www.sbprou.com/power-network today. Are you an entrepreneur or business owner? If so, you need to check out the Power Breakfast. The Power Breakfast is New Jersey's premier business networking event for entrepreneurs. The Power Breakfast is a unique forum for learning best practices, enjoying great networking, and gaining useful knowledge. Over the past 10 years, we have hosted more than 1,500 attendees who have directly benefited with revenue growth and financing. Join me at the next Power Breakfast event on March 22nd in the clubhouse at Galloping Hill Golf Course in Kenilworth, New Jersey. You don't want to miss our featured guest speaker, Jimmy Newsom, the Impact Influencer. He will be talking about how digital transformation can increase profitability for small businesses.
So I'm Jimmy Newsom, known as the Impact Influencer, influencing other small business owners to get the things done that matter the most to them, working on strategy, looking at the big picture, because that's where we find our true north to move forward. So I'm the founder of Moving Forward Small Business. We're on a mission to save 1 million businesses from failure, leveraging innovation, technology, and where this AI strategy actually falls underneath as one of the strategies you could be focusing on for let's just say 2024.
You'll also want to check out our expert panel, Maximize Your Success with Partnerships. I look forward to seeing you at the Power Breakfast on March 22nd. To learn more and register, visit www.the-power-breakfast.com today. Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Lou, and we're talking small business. We talked about accelerating your growth through launching new products, but we talked about a few other things as well. Sometimes
We digress. Just a hint.
but all good things that could be valuable for entrepreneurs and business owners. So Lou, what should people take away from what we discussed tonight?
The last commercial you ran just became number one. Partnerships, right? And going back to the relationships you have and have built, those are key, and those are everything. And especially with launching a new product, and finding those strategic partners that you can share revenue with and share a conversation with and test things out. You need to test, and you can't do it without the relationships and the partners that you've established or will establish. Those are your supporters, and they're willing to take that risk on you because of what you've told them. So partnerships and relationships, number one. Number two, put them in the same boat. To me, they're the same thing. That's number one. Number two, research and understanding. What are you solving? And why are you solving it, right? What is your why? That's something that not too many entrepreneurs or small business owners can answer. What is your why? Why are you doing this? What is your purpose? And who, what, when, and where, and how does it benefit the person on the other side? That's critical. And, it's hard to figure that out. And it's a tough question, and a lot of people have challenges answering it, and it changes over time. But if you understand your why, your reason, your purpose, then it becomes easy to create and really execute. Three. Wait, well, technically that was three, but put yourself first. One thing I say often is, does it feel, or I ask myself, and I say this to a lot of other friends and colleagues all the time, ask yourself if it feels heavy, or ask yourself if it feels light. If it's light, then it's right. But if it's heavy, because you get into your own mindset and headspace of pushing something that you strongly believe in, but it's a struggle, then you have to figure out how to make it lighter, and why, right? What's the reason behind that? If it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't bring you joy, if it feels too heavy, you probably shouldn't be doing it. So yeah, impact, focus, and purpose at the end of the day, which combine with everything else, and they're all connected. Yeah, three, maybe a little bit more than three, but that's what I would
Okay, no, that was excellent. So, definitely relationships, partnerships, there's overlap between the two.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, you can't make it alone. So you have to, have your tribe, as they call it.
Absolutely.
Number two, research and understanding, taking the time to do that. It can be hard. It can be scary. You may need help, but, it's one of those things that I find the same as financial projections. The process is more important than the answer. So you're probably going to be wrong.
Can
But
I add to that? So I worked for Bloomberg, and I remember very early on, Mike Bloomberg. It wasn't the first time. We had won the Big Apps competition very, very early on with Cap Corner. That's the first time I met him. But when I worked for him later in life, he told me something about projections and what everybody sends to him. It's like, they're guesses. You have no idea what is actually going to happen, market conditions. They're guesses, right? And it's really easy to guess wrong. And it's harder to guess right. But you've got to take a guess and a stab to figure it all out and see those numbers at the end of the day. So sorry, but you just triggered that.
Yeah, and obviously, Bloomberg knows a little bit or two, given what he's done in business. Got a lot of respect for him, and have never met him, but I know others who've worked for him, and definitely respect him a lot. So, definitely. So yeah, doing that is key, and and you just learn things and get clarity out of it. And the other side is, when things aren't going right faster, because you know what to expect or what you did expect. And then putting yourself first, making sure things aren't weighing on you. And if they're weighing on you too much, maybe there's a problem that maybe you need to look at things a different way or do things a different way. So this has been great. Thanks again, Lou, for hanging out with me tonight and sharing.
Thank you for inviting me and having me. Nothing but love and gratitude. Truly appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And for those of you listening in, we've got Lou's LinkedIn in the chat, so feel free to reach out to him. We've got his website, but not his new one, because
that's an old one. That I mean, hindsight, I still own. I think I only own 1% of it these days. It's still relevant. Honestly, I'm trying to sell it, but I'm not as involved with the day-to-day. pompomfairy.com. That's the new one. My 11-year-old daughter, who is probably watching something that she shouldn't, she's got her fourth business and first app that is in private beta right now. Stay tuned for Cook It Kids, cookitkids.world. really to advocate and empower healthy eating, for everyone, for children and families, and to bring people together and share a sharing of cultures through food. We grew up with home economics, doesn't exist anymore. It's wild, right? We got to change that. Our kids are getting dumbed down too much, so it's all her.
Definitely. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. Hang out for a little bit. I'm just going to close things out. Hey, good evening. So once again, always appreciate you tuning in and listening in, and we had a great guest tonight. Looking forward to having a great guest next week as well. Next week we're going to have Baz Porter, and we're going to talk about accelerating your leadership. He has a great story and really comes from a different place when he looks at developing your leadership that I think you'll find very, very exciting. Also, this Saturday at 5 p.m., I'm going to be speaking at Baz's conference on leadership and transformation. So, after the show, I'm going to put it in the chat. You may want to sign up. It's a 3-day conference. So it starts Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Saturday, 5 p.m. Eastern. But, we got a lot of great people throughout the whole conference. So I'll put that in the chat so you know about it as well. Really, that's what we're looking at for next week. And, but whenever you think about your business, it's key to understand that the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business is going to grow.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.